from Jamaica to the world. It's just love.
So for me, I knew it was the end of my rowing career, and I was absolutely desperate for everything to go right and to make sure that we went out there and had the very, very best row possible. So it was an element of making it happen. And when we were on the holding camp on the Gold Coast, it was quite fraught because we'd sort of travelled, there was a big time difference. We got in our boat, but then some of the conditions on the water were bad. And I always had this thing in the back of my mind, it's actually, when things go well, it's easy. It's when things go wrong, that's what makes and breaks and makes successful crews. So when it was rough, we still went out. We went out and we sank, you know? And we had to get out on the side of the Hinds Dam and bail our boat out, turn it over and get back in again. And it was at that point, I think, that Katherine said something about Australia having the largest number of poisonous snakes. So I remember that bit and thinking...
It's educational, educational, come on.
So yeah, and then we all got back in the boat and then Gillian started shivering and I remember her having to be taken out in the launch and we rowed it all the way back and she was scared of snakes. So, you know, that was... You know, it was funny, but it was quite scary at the time. And then, you know, actually we went out, we did the miles. We hadn't been together, the four of us as a crew, for very long. So it was really important we did those miles out there and we really focused on what was important in making the boat go fast. And then I remember flying down to Sydney and I remember our talk. So we all went back to this flat in Penrith. And we watched Steve Redgrave race, the 4 race, and being so proud of them. Because for many of us, although we didn't have women that had done it, we had Steve and that 4 that we wanted to really look up to. So it was great to watch them and see also that they didn't win by much, you know. It doesn't come easy when you've been doing it longer. And then also watching Greg's pair, and we'd done quite a bit of rowing with that pair. And watching how they were the favourites to win and they went out miles in front and then they got rowed down in the last 500 and came 4th, and it was a real hit home about actually 4th is the worst place to come, and we saw their faces being interviewed, and that was a big learning point for me that we really didn't want to be in that position. And then we had a meeting the night before and I think we had a very, very, very open discussion about how much it meant to us. So we weren't just talking about the logistics, we weren't just talking about technique, we weren't talking about tactics, we were talking about emotion. And I think emotion is very key in raising people to perform at the very, very highest level, particularly when you're talking about Olympic finals. Emotion is really, really important. And we talked very openly about our emotions and how much it meant to us. And then I remember getting up the morning of the race and we got up at 5:30, it was still dark, we drove down to the course, we put the boat on the water. The guys at the rowing course wouldn't let us go off to row because it was still dark, and then they said, well, if you stay in the area we can see, we'll let you do your sort of warm-up. And then we paddled down to row over the course. And as we rowed down the last 500 metres, there was an Australian lightweight men's 4 next to us, and it was literally neck and neck between the two of us. And, you know, we're thinking, well, we don't want to exhaust ourselves, but we're just pressuring on a bit. And, of course, they were pressuring on a bit. And as we came into the last 250, there were some mad people already in the stands watching and started cheering, and it was quite spine-tingling. And that was our sort of, you know, pre-race paddle. That wasn't even the race. So, you know, I'm not superstitious or anything, but that really did set the scene for us to go out and do something really special. What were your memories?
Similar. I mean, it was a really special time. Like you're saying, we had never raced together as a crew because we had an injury. We'd raced in a slightly different quad through the racing season. We had an injury at the end of the World Cup kind of season, and then so Gillian came in, and so we were kind of untested against any international crew by the time we got to the Olympics, which is never really plan A. But the training had gone well, and certainly against the clock we'd been going quite well. But we did have lots of highs and lows and ups and downs, and you know it's a really challenging time leading up to the games, and because there was a lot of questions and we couldn't really answer at that point. So, and, you know, emotions are high, and it's a very you know, just everyone wanted it so badly and so much, and there's a limit to what you can actually do to make that happen. And but we did. I don't remember much about the first part of the regatta particularly. I remember we did the opening ceremony and we did the marching, and I remember at that point, that was my first Olympics, and in the middle of the opening ceremony, suddenly getting why the Olympics is so special, and you actually feel a very, very small part of it, and it's in a good way. You were humbled by the scale of it, and they had this vast stadium. It was built in Sydney, so 115,000 sellout in the opening ceremony. So it was deafening, and it was, you know, cheering, and it was all these hundreds of, you know, international athletes, the best people in the world at what they do, all coming together for this incredible event. And you just feel, I just felt so lucky. You just felt at that point, you know what? So when Miriam was talking about the night before the race, we kind of, I think we all felt, you know, we've got nothing to lose. We've got one race left together. And yes, we're not the favourites to win. We were probably favourites to come fourth on the ranking. And
Third.
Do you think?
Yes.
Okay, third. And it was almost, but to some extent, there was a feeling of, well, you know, all the predictions and all the stats and the results, in a way we can put that aside, because in a way that's history already, and actually what we do tomorrow is all that matters. And we did have, you know, kind of all talked about, you know, putting ourselves in a place that maybe we've never been before, and just seeing what happens, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you when you've got the Olympic final, you've got one race left, you've got 6.5 minutes or whatever together, and just see what's possible? Because we don't really know, and that means the rest of our opposition definitely don't know what's possible from us. And we did, and we just, you know, for all the kind of differences we had within the crew and the difficulties we'd faced in the lead up to it, we just, some races you actually perform above what's there, and I think we all came together and everyone just did what they needed to do in that race, and people did their roles brilliantly, and we just put together this fantastic race that absolutely made history. And there was kind of an element, you knew at the time, not that you're thinking about the result and what might happen, but there was an element of, you knew this could be absolutely kind of life-changing for the sport if we got this right. And it was brilliant because it had a massive effect for women's rowing afterwards.
Because everyone suddenly felt, wow, we really can do it and we really want to do it. And it was like this sort of, it was like a veil had been taken off, that British women had arrived. Now we can deliver the gold. And thank goodness Katherine went on and turned that into reality with Anna.
Took a while.
I know, but things that are worth winning, you have to work hard for, and they take time.
Anticipation's worth it.
Yeah. And I also remember in that race, we got to 1,000 metres and we talked about putting in a floating push. And it was up to Guin to decide, being the tactician up in the bows, for her to decide when she was going to call that tactical push, which meant that we could really put ourselves in very safe contention for a bronze medal. And when she called that push, I don't know, I felt someone had put an engine in the boat. I'm not sure if you lot started pulling, but it was like we took off. And the rate just went up 2 pips and off we went. It was like we brought Superman into the boat.
I think we decided to let you do the first half, and then we were going to kick in at the
right, that was
half.
it. That was it. But it was amazing. It was like the power in that boat. I couldn't believe it. And then obviously we went and caught up the Russians, and then it was neck and neck for the line. And I'd no idea once we crossed the line whether it was silver or bronze. I was just so proud that were going to get one of the big gongs rather than just the little ones which I'd had in the past. So for me it was fantastic. And then when we had to wait for a while, I didn't really mind because I knew we had one.
I was going to ask you that question. What was it like in that time gap of something like 12 minutes, was it?
Oh, it's time to celebrate. And then it was like Christmas because then we got another present.
And for our quad scullers, it's been an agonising wait. The judges really deliberated over that, and you've just been handed a piece of paper, haven't you? What does it say?
I can read the announcements are, in gold place, Germany, in silver place, hooray! We got it!
Tremendous, and what a wonderful performance. I'll tell you what, you were handed that piece of paper just a short time ago, and your reaction then, well, let's take a look at it. This is your reaction on screen when you first heard the result officially, and this was how close it was. Guin, my goodness.
It was perfect. I honestly didn't say a thing for the last 10 straight. Wow.
I know, genuinely. I mean, I was sure we got the bronze. I had no idea we were so close to the Russians, and we were. There was the Olympic medal. Almost the colour was slightly irrelevant. It was the Olympic medal that had made the difference and was kind of the thing we'd all been aiming for. And when, you know, as soon as we crossed the line and we knew we'd won a medal. So there was celebrations from that second. And so the 12-minute wait wasn't agonising.
No.
And I was in a way a bit like, I don't mind. Doesn't matter.
We're going to get another present.
Yeah.
We're going to get another present.
I kind of was thinking, I don't really mind what colour it is. And then obviously when they come and then they say, well, that's a silver, then you do mind. And you're like, oh, that's what I wanted.
Well, it's a much nicer colour, silver, than bronze. And then actually, the gold medals are only gold plated. So when the gold comes off, everyone's got a silver medal.
Silvers are the purest and actually they're worth most.
Are they really?
Yeah, they are.
Wow. I'm very jealous because obviously the London medals were much bigger. They're about this big, aren't they, Katherine?
They're huge.
Whereas my silver medal's only this much. So yeah, I'm going to have to go and steal some somewhere.
Go back for Rio.
Here we are.